purpose of this video is actually to touch on the button press issue. Okay, something that I feel that I need to explain more clearly. Okay, why do you place it all at the back? Alright, as I say over here, alright, just now in the previous video we say that after the void loop, alright, this thing is the void loop bracket, and then this thing is over here, alright, and up to here everything is under, this whole thing is under your void loop, while this whole thing is under your setup. Okay, normally you define your function after your void loop and your void setup. Okay, so over here, therefore this is also a function. Okay, so why do I say that this is a function? Because if you still remember, when you set up a function, for example this function, you void flash integer interval. Do you see any semicolon? There's no semicolon over here. And therefore, if you were to come back to this thing, why am I having this? Okay, but anyway, okay, if you were to come back to this thing, do you see any semicolon? No. So therefore, this thing is clearly a function. Alright, well, this function doesn't have any variable, but however, this particular button, although it doesn't have any variable, it only has, this function itself is already a function within. Oh, sorry, that this function itself already has its own stuff, or you put something into this particular function name. Okay, instead of having like for example A, B, C, alright, you only have this particular function. So all these informations are within this particular button pressed. Alright, and therefore the understandings are all described in the previous video already, but I just want to raise this awareness. Therefore, we can conclude that if you want to talk about a function, the first thing first, take note that this thing over here doesn't have a semicolon. Once you see this, definitely this is a form of a function. Okay, and if you want to return something, alright, for this case you are returning, telling the Arduino that you are return power 0 and return power 1. If you still remember, when the button is pressed, Arduino is 0. Alright, if you still remember, otherwise it returns 1. Okay, so if you are talking about integer, then you can return. Okay, you can use the return function. If you are using void in this case, then you are not going to use return. The return, if you were to use, there will be error. Okay, so therefore take note of this thing. You can void function. The void tells you that this whole function will not output anything. It's just to do something only, that's all. Alright, while this thing over here tells the system that you need to do something. You need to return something to inform the Arduino that your power has changed or things like that. Okay, next thing I just want to raise the awareness is the read button state. Okay, if you take a look for this particular flowchart, I think we have gone through in previous videos, but as you can see, we actually skip this particular step. We straight away jump to the button change or not. Alright, where we say that does the button pressed or what. Alright, so therefore, in fact, this particular parallelogram, okay, represents input or output. Alright, is that this input is that you're gonna receive certain data from somewhere. Your output is gonna output certain data to somewhere. Okay, so this thing tells you that it's gonna input or output certain stuff. And what questioned me is that when do I use this parallelogram? Okay, so I was thinking such that it may actually be maybe a block diagram to actually indicate to whoever user, alright, that this particular thing over here, this particular process is to indicate the user to input certain stuff. Okay, so for example, this is the user. In order to tell the user that okay, you need to press, I need to tell him something, like maybe a light has lighted up. So when a light has lighted up, okay, then I press. So I would think that this particular block diagram over here is something like a initiation or initialization to actually initialize the person or to input. Okay, things like that. So there's a very subtle meaning within this particular parallelogram in order to use it. Alright. But that raises the question of why didn't we use it in the previous video or the previous part of our flowcharts. Alright, why didn't they use it? Okay, this is something that I really don't know. Right, but I just want to raise this awareness because after when I check the internet, you can just check it out. It also say that there's initialization. I just take note of the block diagram because I can't use my mouse to show you. My mouse cannot move. Anyway, otherwise I'll just paste it in the picture lah. Okay, so this thing over here tells you it's gonna initialize certain stuff. Alright, so begin and then you initialize something and then this initialization will output a certain special stuff. Okay, and then carry on. I don't know, something that you may want to consider. I don't know, so leave you to think about it. At least, yeah. See you soon.